They're gone. It's over. You know this. Logically, rationally, you know it's done. But your mind won't let go. Every day, they're there. In your thoughts. In your dreams. In the quiet moments when you're trying to focus on anything else. And the worst part? They hurt you. They left. They broke something inside you. So why can't you stop thinking about them? Ibn Arabi knew the answer. He said it's not about them anymore. It's about the wound they left behind. And your soul won't stop thinking about them until it understands what the wound is trying to teach you. You wake up, and they're the first thought. You go to sleep, and they're the last. Even when you're busy, even when you're with other people, there's a part of your mind that's still circling back to them. To what they said, what they did, how they made you feel. And you hate it. You hate that they still have this power over you. That they're gone, but somehow still present. Still occupying space in your head that you desperately want to reclaim. Most people tell you to just move on. To let it go. To focus on yourself. And you try. You really do. You delete their number. Unfollow them on social media. Avoid places that remind you of them. But none of it works. Because the problem isn't external. It's internal. They're not living in your phone or your feed. They're living in your mind. And until you understand why, no amount of distance will make them disappear. Ibn Arabi wrote extensively about wounds. Not physical ones, but the kind that live in the soul. He said that every person who hurts you leaves behind more than just pain. They leave behind a question, a rupture in your understanding of yourself, of trust, of love, of worth. And that rupture becomes a point of obsession. Not because you miss them, but because the wound they created is trying to tell you something. And your mind won't rest until it hears what that something is. Think about the people who left your life peacefully, the relationships that just faded, the friendships that drifted apart. You don't think about them constantly. You might remember them fondly, but they don't haunt you. They don't occupy your mind in the middle of the night. They don't trigger spirals of overthinking. Why? Because they didn't leave a wound. They left a memory. And memories, even sad ones, don't demand attention the way wounds do. But this person, the one you can't stop thinking about, they're different. They didn't just leave. They tore something. And now you're walking around with this open wound, trying to function, trying to heal, but constantly aware of the pain. And every time you think of them, you're not thinking of them. You're touching the wound, pressing on it, trying to understand why it still hurts. Ibn Arabi said that wounds are portals, that the place where you were broken is also the place where truth can enter. But most people don't want to look at the wound. It's too painful, too raw. So they try to cover it, distract from it, numb it. And all the while, the wound is calling for attention. It's saying, look at me, understand me, learn from me. But instead of turning toward it, you keep turning toward the person who caused it, as if they hold the answer, as if understanding them will heal you. But they don't hold the answer. You do. The wound is yours. It lives in you, and it's trying to show you something about yourself that you didn't see before. Maybe it's showing you where you gave too much, where you ignored red flags, where you silenced your own needs to keep someone else comfortable. Maybe it's showing you a pattern, a familiar pain that echoes something from your past, a wound that was already there, just waiting for the right person to reopen it. This is why you can't stop thinking about them. Not because they're special, not because the relationship was perfect, but because they activated something in you that's been dormant. They touched a wound you didn't know you had, or one you thought had healed but hadn't. And now that wound is awake, and it's demanding to be seen. Ibn Arabi taught that obsession is a form of unfinished business. That when your mind fixates on someone, it's because there's something unresolved. Not with them, with yourself. And the obsession won't end until you resolve it. Until you stop asking why they did what they did and start asking why it affected you the way it did. Why this betrayal? Why this abandonment? Why this rejection? What does it mean? What is it connected to? What part of you is still bleeding? You replay conversations in your head, over and over, analyzing every word, every gesture, trying to find the moment it went wrong, trying to understand where you lost them. But Ibn Arabi would tell you that you're looking in the wrong place. The moment it went wrong isn't in the past. It's in the present. It's in the fact that you're still giving them power, still allowing them to define your worth, still believing that their absence means you weren't enough. This is the real wound. Not what they did, but what you decided it meant. That you weren't lovable, that you weren't chosen, that you weren't worth staying for. And as long as that belief lives in you, you'll keep thinking about them. Because every time you do, you're reinforcing the wound. You're telling yourself the same story. And the mind loves repetition. It loves familiar pain, even when that pain is destroying you. Ibn Arabi said that the soul seeks resolution, not revenge. That when you can't stop thinking about someone, your soul isn't trying to bring them back. It's trying to bring you back. Back to yourself. Back to the truth of who you are beneath the wound. But to get there, you have to stop running from the pain. You have to sit with it. Feel it. Ask it what it needs. Most people are terrified of this. Because sitting with the wound means admitting how much it hurt, how deep it went, how much you gave, how much you lost. And that admission feels like weakness, like proof that you cared too much, loved too hard, let someone in who didn't deserve it. But Ibn Arabi would say that caring isn't the problem. Loving isn't the problem. The problem is believing that their inability to receive your love says something about your worth. It doesn't. It says something about their capacity. And those are not the same thing. You think about them because part of you is still trying to make sense of the loss. Still trying to justify why someone who meant so much could cause so much pain. Still trying to reconcile the person they were in the beginning with the person they became in the end. And that reconciliation is impossible. Because people are not consistent. They're not fixed. They show you one version of themselves, and then, when the mask slips, you see another. And the dissonance between those two versions is what haunts you. Ibn Arabi wrote about the multiplicity of the self, how every person contains countless versions of themselves. And the version you fell in love with was real. But so was the version that hurt you. They're not two different people. They're the same person showing you different faces. And the pain comes from realizing that the face you loved was never the only one. This is why closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. From accepting that you'll never fully understand why they did what they did. That their reasons, their justifications, their explanations, even if they gave them, wouldn't heal you. Because the wound isn't about what they did. It's about what you believed it meant. And only you can change that belief. You keep thinking about them because you're waiting for something. An apology. An acknowledgement. A sign that what you had mattered. That you mattered. But Ibn Arabi would tell you that waiting is what keeps the wound open. That as long as you're looking to them for validation, you're giving them power they don't deserve. And you're denying yourself the power you do. The wound wants to be seen. Not by them. By you. It wants you to acknowledge how much it hurt. How deeply it cut. How unfair it was. It wants you to stop pretending you're fine. Stop rushing to heal. Stop forcing yourself to forgive before you've even allowed yourself to feel. Because forgiveness without feeling is just suppression. And suppression doesn't heal wounds. It buries them. And buried wounds don't disappear. They fester. Ibn Arabi said that the path to healing begins with honesty, with looking at the wound and saying, "This hurt. This broke me. This changed me," not as a way to stay stuck in victimhood, but as a way to honor what was lost, to grieve it, to let it be what it was without needing to make it smaller or more palatable. Because when you minimize the wound, you minimize yourself, and you can't heal what you won't acknowledge. You think about them because the wound is unfinished, and it will remain unfinished until you stop focusing on them and start focusing on what they revealed in you. The patterns, the fears, the needs, the parts of yourself you abandoned to keep them close. Ibn Arabi taught that every person who enters your life is a mirror. They show you something about yourself. Sometimes it's beautiful. Sometimes it's painful. But it's always true. This person showed you where you gave too much, where you tolerated too little, where you confused intensity for intimacy, where you mistook someone's potential for their reality. And now, in their absence, you have the chance to see yourself clearly, to see the wound not as proof of your inadequacy, but as proof of your capacity, to love, to give, to hope, even when it wasn't returned. The obsession will fade, not all at once, but slowly, as you turn your attention away from them and toward yourself, as you stop asking why they left and start asking what you need to stay, as you stop replaying the past and start building a future that doesn't include them. Ibn Arabi said that the soul knows when it's time to let go, but it won't let go of the person until it's ready to let go of the wound. And it won't let go of the wound until it understands what the wound came to teach. So sit with it. Feel it. Let it speak. And when it's done, when it's said everything it needs to say, you'll notice something. You'll think of them less. Not because you forced yourself to forget, but because you finally remembered. Remembered who you are beneath the pain. Remembered that your worth was never theirs to define. Remembered that the wound, as painful as it was also a doorway. And on the other side of that doorway is a version of you that no longer needs them to make sense. A version that's whole, not because the wound disappeared, but because you finally understood what it was trying to tell you. And that's when they stop haunting you. Not because they're gone, but because you're finally here, present, whole, free.